Hi guys, welcome to Rose channel. Today we will discuss about the first language English 14E question paper. Multiple choice question. We tried hard. The appropriate question tag to be added is didn't we? Ganga is sacred river. The appropriate articles to be filled in the blanks are option D. The, ye. Life is a dream. The figure of speech used here is option B. Metaphor. The word that takes un as a negative prefix is option D. Educated. Fifth one. Give the noun form of the word confuse. Option B. Confusion. Sixth. The plural of the word photo is option A. Photos. Observe the relationship in the first pair of words and complete the second pair of accordingly in the following. Eye diseases, oculist. Nose diseases, rhinologist. Ransack, search. Chronicle, story. Mean, meant. Fight, fought. Hope, hopeful. Glory, glorious. Rewrite as directed. Change the voice of the sentence. The mason is building the wall. Answer. The wall is being built by the mason. Frame a question to get the underlined word as answer. The milk turns sour by a thunderstorm. What turns the milk sour? 13th. Rewrite the following sentence using so, that, not. The students were too tired to sit in the class. The students were so tired that they could not sit in the class. Answer the following questions in a sentence each. According to the narrator, which is the best month to visit Missouri? October. Where did both the teams spend the evening after the cricket match? The Three Horseshoes. Why was Pierre pinched the previous month? For begging. What did Drona seek from Battu as recompense? Battu's right hand thumb. Answer the following questions in 2 to 3 sentences each. In the poem Sonnet 73, which are the 4 stages of man's life that the poet is speaking about? Where does the poet imagine himself? Childhood, youth, old age and death. The poet imagines himself in old age. Why does Drona bless that men will link Battu's name to self-help, truth and modesty? Self-help, learnt archery himself. Truth, acknowledged that he had been inspired by Drona as he received inspiration from him. Modesty, trusted, believed that his master would not set a task too hard for him, kept his promise. 20th one. How do you know that the female crane was desperate to bring the male bird back to life? With her beak she kissed a few feathers, picked the ones that wind had not taken away, and sat to hatch the blood-stained feathers into a toddling chick. According to Cherry and Alexander, how can life be made meaningful and sustainable? One should turn to the commodities of the spirit, the arts, culture, community life. This is ultimately a spiritual and philosophical decision for both individuals and communities to make. Why was Ben left marooned on the island? Ben had been captain of Flint's ship when the treasure was buried. Captain Flint had taken 6 men ashore with him to hide the booty and murdered them all, so its location remained a secret. Ben had returned on another ship to look for the treasure 3 years back. When they could not find it, his shipmates left him marooned on the island. Explain briefly to show that Cyclops were not civilized in the art of cultivation. Cyclops were giant shepherds that neither sow nor plow. The earth untilled produced for them rich wheat, barley and grapes, yet they had neither bread nor wine. Why did the narrator remark that the girl had an interesting face? The narrator had become quite daring. It was a safe remark. Few girls can resist flattery. Rewrite as directed. Change the following sentence to the other two degrees of comparison. Samudragupta was one of the greatest Indian kings. Positive. Very few Indian kings were as great as Samudragupta. Comparative. Samudragupta was greater than most other Indian kings. 26th one. Change the following sentence into simple and complex. I saw a girl and she was very beautiful. Simple. I saw a beautiful girl. Complex. I saw a girl who was very beautiful. 27th. Change the following sentence to reported speech. The prince said, "It gives me great pleasure to be here this evening." The prince said that it gave him great pleasure to be there that evening. Answer the following questions in 5 to 6 sentences each. Summarize Basavanna's opinion and message in the poem Vachana. The rich people can build temples of gold. The poor man cannot do what the rich man can do. His legs are compared to the pillars of the temple body. The shrine head is compared to a dome or gopura of the temple. Our body houses the soul and is therefore the temple of God. All material things are subject to destruction in the course of time. The spiritual person who moves according to the gods will be permanent. How did the speaker and his neighbor mend the wall? They keep the wall between them as they go, to each the boulders that have fallen to each. Some are lows and some are nearby balls. They have to use a spell to make them balance. Their fingers become rough handling the stones, just another outdoor game. Explain how Lord Krishna recounts the act of Karna and the Kauravas which violated fair play and chivalry. When Duryodhana, Dussasana and Sakuni dragged Draupadi to the assembly and insulted her, persuaded Dharmaputra to gamble and cheated him, refused to give Yudhishthira his kingdom, conspired with the wicked man who sought to poison and kill Bhima, acquiesced, accepted without protest in the plot to burn the Pandavas alive when sleeping in the place of wax. When violent hands were laid on Draupadi, Karna enjoyed the sight and mocked at her when they slew young Abhimanyu. The narrator was haunted by a mysterious presence within him after the stolen boat experience justify. The narrator left the boat and he went homeward in a serious mood. After that spectacle for many days his brain worked with a dim and undetermined sense. Unknown made of being took over his thoughts. There hung a darkness, solitude or blank desertion. No familiar shapes remained, no pleasant images of trees, sea or sky, no colors of green fields, but he was troubled by huge and mighty forms that did not live like living men moved slowly through his mind during the day and his dreams. How did the young people and students respond to a Hamburg student in March 1957? More than 2,000 young people eagerly answered his appeal. Hundreds pedaled on bikes 120 kilometers in lashing rain. Standing in front of one of the mass graves, a 17-year-old schoolgirl expressed what all felt. Anne Frank was younger than them when her life so horribly ended. She had to die because others had decided to destroy her race. Never again among them must such a diseased and inhuman hatred arise. Louis Pasteur had a very busy and interesting life explained. What was the attitude of men and women before the entry of the wrong man in workers' paradise? He not only made exciting discoveries about germs, but he was able to use his discoveries about germs, used his discoveries in very practical way, worked hard in his laboratory with test tubes, all the time working to help people who suffered in some special way from disease, helped rivers, breeders of silkworms, and cow keepers, all of whom were trying to carry on important industries in France. He was always very proud of being able to help his country in this way. In workers' paradise, everything was found except leisure. Man exclaimed that they hadn't a moment to spare. Women whispered, "Let's move on, time's a flying." All exclaimed that time was precious. They complained that their hands were full. They made use of every minute, and yet those words made them happy and exalted. Explain with reference to the context. What do you want of me? Lesson: A Wrong Man in a Worker's Paradise. Author Rabindranath Tagore. The girl of the silent torrent to the idler, painter, wrong man. When the girl sets out for the torrent the following day, her hurrying feet were a little less hurried than before. For a new sense seemed to have awakened in her, a sense that seemed to have no meaning and no purpose at all. She saw the painter standing and asked the above questions in confusion. Please God, make him think I am still pretty. Lesson: The Gift of Maggie. Author O. Henry. Della whispered to herself. As Della waited for Jim's return, she heard his step on the stairway down on the first flight, and she turned white for a moment. She had a habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things and whispered the above sentence. Thief, dog, cut purse, reptile, rapscallion, slubberdigillion. What have you done with my pie? Lesson: The Pie and the Tart. Author Hugh Chesterman. Gaultier asked Jean. After Pierre sent Jean to fetch the tart, Jean informs Marion that Gaultier had sent him to get the cranberry tart. Marion goes in to get it. When Gaultier hears Jean, he runs out from the shop, begins to cudgel him, and says the above line. She is one, we are gone, over blank, bush and scar. Poem Lochinvar. Poet Sir Walter Scott. Lochinvar said this. Lochinvar manages to fool Helen's parents by saying that he had attended the wedding with the intention of only having a dance with Helen and drinking a cup of wine. As they danced, they reached the hall door. He put Helen on the horse and rode away, saying the above line. 38. My mother's life made me a man. Poem CLM. Poet John Masefield. The poet said this. He says that he was born at the cost of his mother's life. She destroyed a part of her life to make him a man. Quote from memory. My legs are pillars, the body the shrine, the head a cupola of gold. Listen, O Lord of the meeting rivers, things standing shall fall, but the moving ever shall stay. And it grew both day and night, till it bore an apple bright, and my foe beheld it shine, and he knew that it was mine. Answer the following questions in 7 to 8 sentences each. List the values which the poet father wants the teacher to teach his son. There are both good and bad people in the world. It is better to be away from envy. Never be afraid of bullies. It is better to fail than to cheat. Knowledge is gained through books and through deep thoughts. To be gentle with gentle and tough with tough. To have faith in his own ideas even if others do not agree. Not to blindly follow the majority. Listen to all and be able to differentiate the truth and falsehood. Not to be ashamed of tears. Stand to fight for right things. Not to sell his strength and intelligence to the highest bidders. Teach him how to laugh with cynics and to be careful with the people who show too much sweetness. To have sublime faith in mankind. Water is the basis of all life. Substantiate. Or, how did Pasteur show that air is full of dust and particles? Water is the basis of all life, animals, plants or human beings. Water has the power to carry sleep, which is very necessary for agriculture. C.V. Raman shows that water is the elixir of life. He gives us the example of Libyan desert where there is no vegetation and not a single living thing visible. On the other hand, in the immediate neighborhood, the Nile Valley is teeming with vegetation and people. The water has shaped the history and civilization of our earth. The presence of water makes the countryside beautiful and it has enabled agriculture to thrive. Water enriches soil and makes it fertile. If water is used judiciously, it can improve our economy by generating electricity. Pasteur filled some bottles with soap, took some to a hotel bedroom where the air hardly even changed, broke their necks off so that air could enter freely, sealed them up again after a few minutes, took some bottles into a field and did the same. Result: bottles opened in the bedroom completely moldy, those opened in the field moldy but not that bad, those opened on the mountain no germs at all. Gandhiji says that it is not enough for a moral act to be done with a good intention, but it should have been done without compulsion, explained with examples. Or, the approach of the sexton and the postman, the blacksmith and the baker to the game is typical of their profession, explained. There is no morality in my act. If I rise early out of the fear that I am late for my office, I may lose my situation. There is no morality in my living a simple and unpretentious life if I have not the means to live otherwise. But plain simple living would be moral, if though wealthy I think of all the want and misery in the world about me, and feel that I ought to live a plain simple life and not one of ease and luxury. It is only selfish and not moral of an employer to sympathize with his employees or to pay them higher wages lest they leave him. It would be moral if the employer wished well of them and treated them kindly, realizing how he owed his prosperity to them. This means that for an act to be moral, it has to be free from fear and compulsion. Sexton works for a church, the postman a government official, a blacksmith a person who makes and repairs things made out of iron, and baker is someone who makes food by using an oven or another concentrated heat source. Sexton and the postman do not take risks as they are government officials. These men behave typical to their professions. They are not aggressive in taking runs or bowling. Read the following passage carefully and answer the questions given below. Many of us believe that science is something modern, though the truth is that man has been using science for a very long time. However, it has probably had a greater effect on human lives in the last 25 or 30 years than in the hundreds of years since the invention of the plough or the wheel. The marvelous gifts of science, which make modern life so comfortable as well as exciting, are there for everyone to see. But what cannot always be clearly seen are the problems that science has brought us, which were unknown to man a few years ago. Science is certainly very modern if we consider some of the problems it has created for us today. One of these problems, which may become worse in the years to come, is that of jet lag. With the coming of modern jet flying at more than 900 kilometers an hour, the world has become very small indeed. Today you can leave New Delhi at 6 am in the morning, eat an early breakfast in the sky over Kabul, and be in London in time for lunch by about 1 pm. What is the false belief and truth about science? How has the world become very small? Many of us believe that science is something modern, though the truth is that man has been using science for a very long time. With the coming of modern jets flying at more than 900 kilometers an hour, the world has become very small indeed. Write an essay of about 18 to 20 sentences on any one of the following topics. Noise pollution, a growing concern. Internet, advantages and disadvantages. Imagine you are Abin or Aditi of Government High School Kolar. Write a letter to your father seeking permission to go on a trip arranged by the school and informing him of the expenditure involved. Or imagine you are Raimon or Rishona of Government High School Mandya. Write a letter to the editor of a newspaper advocating the establishment of a free library in your town. This is the end of the video. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe.